All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today, my plan was to do a little bit of rucking, and then we were going to go over the top 5 things that I dislike about my truck and my first impressions of my first 1,000 miles. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can tell, but as soon as I pulled up to this park here, it started raining and thundering, so we are going to skip the rucking for today. I'll bring you guys along on a ruck on the next time that I go, probably tomorrow, so you guys can see that if you're interested in it. But since it is raining, we're not going to get any rucking in today. Let's just head straight in to the list. So here are my 1,000-mile update and the top 5 things that I dislike most about my Chevy Colorado. Number 1 on my list of the top 5 things that I dislike the most about my new 2024 Chevy Colorado is definitely has to be the auto stop start feature. I did not realize when I was looking at these Colorados that they were going to have this feature. I would have assumed that consumers would have given their feedback to these auto manufacturers that they don't want these auto stop start features in their vehicle. I didn't notice it until I was on the test drive with the salesperson. He was going over and showing me the different features, and we were at a stoplight and the car cut off, and I actually looked a little bit shocked, not thinking that there was an auto stop start in this truck, and he laughed. He said, "No, we've got the auto start stop." Luckily, there is a button in the truck that you can hit that disables it, which is easy to do, but it is somewhat of a pain and a hassle to remember. When I get in my truck, I start it up and then have to disable that auto start stop feature. I'd love to get some feedback from you because I know there is a mod that you can do to your vehicle that disables the auto start stop feature. So I'm curious if any of you guys have done that mod to your Colorado, or really any vehicle for that matter. Please let me know how the install was. Does it work? Is it worth it? I've seen a few different options and they're around 150 bucks. To me, that $150 is definitely worth the convenience of not having to get in my truck every time and hitting a button to disable the auto start stop. So that's number 1, is definitely at the top of my list. The next feature that I'll talk about was actually on my list of things that I loved, which was the wireless charging. Now, the issue with the wireless charging is that it is finicky. There's a tray in the center console in the dash area underneath the infotainment center, and typically what you do is you just throw your phone in there and it'll start charging. But what I found is I would put my phone in the wireless charger, it would pop up on the screen and say your phone is charging, and then 10, 15, 20 seconds later it would pop up with some message that says check for metal in the wireless charging area, phone is no longer charging. I looked at it and looked at it, there was no pens in there, there was nothing in there at all. So what I come to realize is that your phone has to be in a very specific spot for the wireless charger to work. That's not a huge deal, but it is not as convenient as just being able to put the phone down there and it automatically start charging. It's got to be tucked back in the corner. The other issue that I have with that is when I tuck that phone in the corner of the wireless charger, a lot of times it'll hit my Siri button and it'll pop up and it won't go away until I hit that button again. So that is number 2. I love the wireless charging, but there's got to be a way that Chevy can figure out an easier solution, a more convenient solution to being able to charge your phone by just setting it into that tray. All right, so number 3 on my list, and actually most of these have to do with buttons that you have on your center dash area. So the auto stop start, there's a button for that. The wireless charger, it just slides in that area. The next one that I'm going to talk about is the Aux button. So if you weren't aware, Chevy, in at least the Colorado that I know of, there is an auxiliary button. The button, when you press it, the light comes on, but nothing happens. Essentially, Chevy pre-wires this auxiliary button that you can use it, but there's a caveat, is that if you want to have the ability to use it, you have to take it to the dealership and pay $500, $600, $700 for them to connect it up to the accessory that you want to use. I think it would be great if when you order the truck, if you could have them custom wire it to a specific accessory that you want to be hooked up. For example, I want to get a couple ditch lights on the front of my truck, and for me to be able to have that wired up, I have to bring my truck into Chevy and pay the $500. Now, in my case, I'm going to use YouTube to learn how to run that wiring and do it myself. I know where its location is. It's under the passenger side glove compartment. You just pull that kicker panel back and you have access to it. But in most cases, if you want to utilize that auxiliary button, if you don't know how to wire things up, or you don't have the ability to learn how to wire these up, you're gonna have to take it to Chevy and pay them, $500, $600, $700 on top of the money that you have already spent purchasing your vehicle from them. Next thing that I dislike about my brand new Chevy Colorado ZR2, it's actually right next to the auxiliary button that you have is the window roll down button. And essentially what this button does is when you press it, it rolls all 4 of your windows down. Now that is a cool feature. I do like the fact that you can do that with just the press of a button and all 4 windows come down. But the thing that I would have liked to see is if you can press that button again and all 4 windows roll back up. So what you do is you get in the truck, if you want to roll all the windows down, you come over here, you hit the button, all 4 windows go down. But if you want to bring them back up, you have to come over here and manually bring up the windows, probably 2 at a time, unless you're extremely slick and can do all 4 windows at the same time. It's a minor inconvenience, but it would be really cool. I don't think that it would be that difficult to implement to where that same window roll down button will also roll back up all 4 windows. All right, now number 5 on the top 5 things that I dislike about my Chevy Colorado is going to be the lack of storage compartments. Now, when I was in my F-150, I had storage everywhere. But the flip side of that is that I had a bunch of unnecessary stuff thrown about my truck just because there was a place to put it. So although it technically in my eyes is a negative, it can also be a positive if you're typically a messy person and you want to keep your truck clean. It's harder to have it messy when you can't put things everywhere. So one of the things that you lose with that storage is in your center console area where you put your phone for the wireless charging. You can either use that for sunglasses or whatever, or you can use it as a wireless charger. If you have your phone plus sunglasses or a pen or whatever in that area, your phone's not going to charge. The second thing is that there is storage back behind the infotainment center. There's a small little ridge where you can put pens or things of the sort back there. The problem is out of sight, out of mind, right? I completely forget that I have storage back behind that infotainment center because I can't see it. So that's something that I think that Chevy could get a little bit smarter on, a little bit more tactical in their decision making, is finding a few extra places for your storage. There's plenty of cup holders. You've got 2, 4, 1 on each side, so there's 6 cup holders. Maybe if we got rid of a couple of those cup holders and made an additional storage compartment. One thing I'm looking at, and I'd be curious if any of you guys have this in your Colorado, but they make this accessory insert off of Amazon that sits back behind your dash, and it's held in that little spot where you've got some storage, and then it's got kind of like a center console storage compartment thing. If you guys have done that in your truck, let me know. I'm curious about it. But that wraps up our list for the top 5 things that I dislike about my Chevy Colorado. So I do want to say this when it comes to making my list of the top 5 things that I dislike about my Chevy Colorado. These are personal preferences. I absolutely love this truck. And these things that I dislike about them aren't deal breakers, obviously, because I got the truck, but they're just small things that I think that Chevy can improve upon. There's a lot of you who may be looking into this truck that not a single one of those 5 things are bothersome to you, that maybe you are one of the few that like the auto stop-start function. Maybe you're one of the people who don't mind the issues with the wireless charger, or you use wired charging. So keep that in mind as you're on your search to look for a brand new Colorado. is that these things are extremely minor. Even with those small things, like I said, I absolutely love this truck. We're coming up, like I said, on 1,000 miles. We actually just passed 1,000 miles. So let's get into the part where I talk about my initial impressions driving this truck. Stay tuned for my next video, and please down below leave me some comments. Let me know what you think we should do to this truck. I've got a lot of plans for it, but I'm definitely open to hearing some opinions on what you think that we should do. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been an absolute blast creating these YouTube videos. I can't wait to make my next one. I absolutely love it, and I'm so appreciative of you guys watching, and I look forward to the next video. We'll see you on the next one.